This is going to be basic hand tools. Phillips, flathead. I got a wire cutter just in case there's any zip ties on any of the wires, which there will be on the power wire. And then a pliers. Should be about all you need. From the heater, you're going to have your limit, your control, and then your pressure switch. And those will be these 3 wires. So we'll find those, which are going to be in the board here. The best thing to do is take a picture also, just so you know exactly where everything plugs back into. We'll unhook those and we can just let them kind of off to the side. So now we'll find the power wire, which is going to be, you know, the thick wire that comes out of the heater, the thick black one. And that's going to go to your H1 and H2 terminal on this side. So we'll disconnect that. And this will be your ground, so we'll loosen that up, get that off. So then I'll get this cord out kind of away from everything else because we'll want to be somewhat quick when we're doing this. The other thing too is sometimes, you know, things will be laying in the bottom like the ACE controller. We want to make sure all of that is kind of up off the bottom of the tub or off the bottom of the compartment, because we are going to get water kind of, you know, through this area. The last one is going to be your ground wire, and you might need to loosen up your circulation pump to get to that, depending what model tub you have. And there should be just the 2 screws, one on each side of the circulation pump. And you can kind of move that as needed to get to the ground. And we'll just kind of set that off to the side. The heater will be screwed down. Should be 4 screws. We'll take those out. All right, so now it is basically, you know, everything is loose. We'll come over to these clamps and just kind of slide them back a little bit. So you're gonna have water coming out, just take it slow and easy. You know, if you try to rush it, a lot of times you're gonna kind of fumble around and it's almost gonna take more time. So you won't actually lose that much water, but just slow and easy. So what I'll always do is I'll take and kind of break these loose and get them, you know, right to the end. So now, you know, we're right there. There's going to be 1 back here, 2. So I'll kind of pull that one off, and then I'll pull these 2 off. You know, we'll take the heater out. You know, grab your new heater at this point and just kind of, you know, set it back in place. Get your hoses hooked back up to it. Make sure the hoses go to the correct locations where you took them off. So the inlet, that would be the water coming into the heater, and then obviously the outlet is the water coming out of the heater going back into the tub. But same thing, you know, take pictures before you do it. You'll be able to see, you know, which hose went where. For the most part, the hoses are, you know, going to kind of lay down where they were, but you can get them backwards. And then we'll just reassemble from there. And then, you know, these are going to kind of go back in the same spots. H1 and H2, doesn't matter which, you know, which one goes to where. White can go to either, black can go to either. Green obviously has to go to ground. The biggest thing is when you're putting these connections back in, make sure they're stripped, there's no wires kind of folded over, and you have a good connection into the board. You know, it's solid in there, it's not kind of hanging out. That's really the only thing you're going to notice on these is if it's not making a good connection, it'll overheat and it can, you know, melt these wires as well as melt the heater relay board, melt the connections. So we just want to make sure those are in there really well. And then we'll hook up our sensor wires. You'll want to kind of keep these ends out of water. I mean, if the wires themselves get wet, it's not a big deal. But yeah, these ends, we want to make sure that they're good and dry when we go to put them back in. And then with the pressure switch too, you always want to make sure you can be, you know, one spot off in the board. So we want to make sure we're directly straight on with that. Otherwise, that's going to give you some troubles. And then we can grab some zip ties and kind of zip tie, these cables back together here. And then turn it back on.